If you would have asked me at the beginning of this arc who would make me more scared after seeing the introduction of Overhaul, compared to Shigaraki, which one would frighten me more by the end of the arc? I would, without a doubt in my mind, say Overhaul. But to walk out of this episode and say Shigaraki actually made me more scared than Overhaul did is saying a hell of a lot about the journey that we went through on this arc. And even though I was heavily predicting and speculating that Night Eye was gonna go out, he's gonna bite the bullet, I think anyone with eyes could predict that. I mean, he had a giant hole in his chest, and I think there has to be some limitations on what characters can survive in this world, otherwise there would be no stakes and no reason to ever worry, because everyone would always get out of it unscathed. So, despite me thinking he has to go out, they played into something that just, it works so well for a character goodbye, and that's acceptance. Acceptance that your life is coming to an end, but you're at peace because the thing that always made you scared when you were alive has been proven not to be 100% absolute, and that the future can be changed, and he was okay with sending off the future in the hands of everyone because he knew it was bigger than just him. It was a collaboration and an effort, and it's like, right there, that hurts. It hurts, it stings, but it feels so good because you need a good emotional punch to tie up this arc. You absolutely do. I think if everyone would have got out of that 100% okay, what would have been the point? You really have to ask yourself that. And a lot of times, an arc or an author, they will add in a death to make up for a lackluster story because they didn't have a lot of things going, but if you end on an emotional note, that's probably what a lot of people are going to remember when they think back on your arc. But this arc in general was exhilarating from action to emotional character set pieces, so to tie it off with that nice bow, it's a very depressing bow, mind you, but to just tie it off and send off this character with a smile on his face as the world is crying alongside him, there was no better way than to conclude this episode, mixed in with the fact that our boy Shigaraki literally just destroyed Overhaul in the worst possible way. Like, how can you not love this episode? That's all I'm saying. I will say, though, I do hope after this episode I'll see a very few comments speculating, or I guess I could say maybe ranting, because there was definitely a lot of ranting about why Eri couldn't just save everyone with her quirk. Well, as you can see, the only reason Deku was able to survive with Eri's quirk activated was he was destroying his body faster than she could repair it, but once he stopped moving around, things were getting pretty bad for him, and if it wasn't for our boy Eraserhead, Deku would have been killed. Like, this isn't a power that you want to gamble with, and you wouldn't even want to have her master her power because it would be worse than any supervillain. Like, that's kind of the whole point of this series in general, is that depending on perspective and just the way a character lives their life, an ability could easily become a villain or a hero power without a single doubt in my mind, and to have an ability as insane as her, just watching that aftermath of basically, like, think about that. After everything that's happened, his giant mutated hand goes to touch them, and it's like, oh shit, is he going to be repaired? Is he going to be healed? And then they get ripped apart, they're no longer a mutation, and it's just all over. Her ability is literally a ticking time bomb, and to see the destructive force after everything that's happened and how badass we thought Deku looked, it was insane. It was a good way to give us a reality check and make us understand the consequences of such a dangerous ability, and what Deku was doing was literally worse than gambling his life, but he would never abandon a little girl the same way All Might wouldn't. To just basically see that little conclusion where I'm just like, holy shit, just, this really was one of the most insane things we've seen in My Hero Academia to date, and then to just see the destruction afterwards, it's always one of my favorite parts of like a battle to this scale, is to see what the cost of said battle was, and a lot of people are looking around, seeing the holes in destroyed buildings, thinking what in God's name actually happened, but you know, had Deku done anything different, the whole town would have been destroyed. Like, literally, when you're fighting to that scale, you can't keep everything intact, and similar to how when Deku was in his little training moment where he was bouncing off the walls, making sure not to hit any of the All Might merchandise, he was very careful in this battle, but there is only so much you can do when you're literally fighting for your own life, fighting for this little girl's life, and fighting for the lives of basically everyone in this city. Like, the kid did a lot. He really, really did, and thank God for Eraserhead, because otherwise we would have lost Deku alongside boy Night Eye all in one episode. Wouldn't have that been the ultimate, like, cutting you open and pouring a bag of salt, because that's how it would have felt. And I have to say, like, just the closing moments with Night Eye, I mean, there's something so magical about his goodbye, because it really was acceptance. He wasn't mad that he was dying. That was like he didn't even care about that. All he cared about was that the future that he saw didn't come to pass, because of the collaboration and efforts of the energy of everyone believing in the dream and not thinking about a predetermined future, just simply believing they could do that. And with everyone's help, something was able to change, meaning the future that he saw of All Might dying also could change. And to just see our boy Togata and just everyone crying in sync, like everyone was crying as he was smiling, saying his goodbyes. The idea of accepting your death because you understand the future is in good hands and you're at peace with your current life, you just want to be able to rest, is a very real and raw moment, and sent off one of the most memorable characters of this arc in such a beautiful fashion that just, it brings a tear to your eye, it makes you emotional, but it makes you feel heroic, because you feel like the person who saw everything crystal clear, the future is set in stone, is saying, you guys got this. And I love that moment where he looks into Togata's future and just, he says, you're fine. You're going to be the best hero out there. Like, even after losing his ability, he just looks in. We don't even know, did he actually see his future, or was it something that he didn't have enough energy to use? But it doesn't matter, because that's the whole point of his acceptance here, is that he truly believes everything will be okay in their future. And that says a hell of a lot about his journey, especially when you look at what we saw when we first got introduced to him to where he currently is now, and sending him off on his deathbed. Like, that was top tier writing, I have to say. But I gotta say, I mean, even though it was emotional and pretty epic, especially considering you can find the beginning of the episodes, like the whole epilogue of that fight, and then you get the emotional goodbye, Shigure is a madman. I was not expecting him. I honestly thought the League of Villains were just going to pull out, especially seen by, like, just the characters in general kind of looking and then just kind of moving away. I was like, okay, that's all well and good. And then to see how he came crashing down because he had to take out the king, like, it was always a matter of time before one of them took out the other, whether that be Overhaul or Shigure. But to see what they did in the middle of a road and just how easily it was like, oh my god, are we really going to do this right now? You're really going to steal the drugs? You're really going to continue this? Like, at the very least, they most likely can't mass produce it unless they study the chemicals in the drug, which could be a possibility, but at the very least, they don't have Eri, so thank God for that. But to just have him look at someone who was so menacing for so long, his introduction literally killed a character and just shattered the worlds of villains, and made him seem even more deadly and devastating than any character we saw in the League of Villains. And to have him just be chained up, not being able to do anything, and to see a look in his eyes that we've never seen before. Honestly, fear, feeling like he was just an innocent bystander. He's not. He got so delusioned in repaying his debts that he became worse than any monster that we've seen up to this point. But to see how they transition him back almost into a naive child, and to have this monster appear over him as he just destroyed his hands, making sure he could never use his abilities again, and then to also just really rub salt in the wounds. I'm taking your life's work here, and I'm not even gonna give you a taste of it. Like, that is so venomous. Like, that is just so pure lunatic, and I love how we change from the beginning of his introduction to his conclusion of this arc. To see the transition from him being the top shot, most fearful character to being a lonely and just pathetic character. Someone who looks like a child needing his daddy, and like, that is insanity. Like, that, and just this episode in general, I thought was going to be a good epilogue. I was thinking, yeah, I mean, Night Eye, he's probably dying. I mean, he's got a hole in his chest, but that's all I was really expecting. But to kick off the episode and actually have that be like just a reminder, make sure people 100% know her ability is very much not mastered, and she will kill people should you get too close to her. It is deadly. Deku got lucky because he was destroying his body faster than she could repair it. That's what that was. It was really good, and it was a good way to send off the battle mechanics. And then you get all the League of Villains stuff, the like sappy kind of like emotional moments throughout the episode, just seeing the cost of everything, and then you hit us with that slam dunk, and you give the guy a smile on his deathbed. This episode and this arc in general, without a doubt in my mind, was the best part of My Hero Academia's anime so far. It just kind of had everything that was so interesting. I love how many perspectives that we get to see that we normally wouldn't see in a capacity feeling like the main character. We look back at Red Riot. I mean, that character you wouldn't think would get such great moments throughout this arc, but he did. He had so many amazing moments. And the fact that I can look back as fondly at a Deku or a Togata or a Night Eye moment in this arc, and look equally fond on so many side characters, Factum of all characters. I thought you'd be a joke character. That man was a beast. That's what I love about this season, and I don't know where they want to go with the next arc. I have no idea. I've heard some people say they kind of lost interest in My Hero Academia after this arc. I've heard other people say it still is very good, but in a different way. All I know is that I've enjoyed every arc of My Hero Academia to some capacity, and it's almost always got better for me. Obviously, there's going to hit a point where it's not going to continue to improve because you can only go so high, but still, like, their good meter that they can hit is still better than a lot of anime that air in any given season, so I have no doubts in my mind that I'm going to love whatever is going to come next, and if they want to slow it down for a few episodes, I'm more than okay with that after everything that just transpired. Twisting the future and fate in general has never been more exhilarating. It is goddamn depressing to see Night Eye go out, but no one should be able to live forever, especially when you have such damage applied to you. Recovery Girl needs to have some limitations, and it's nice to see that she had some. Great episode, emotional as hell. What did everyone think, either for manga readers, anime originals like myself? Let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.